My name's Ryan Quigley. I'm a trumpet player based in London, and there I have a very varied career. I do a lot of studio work. I do a lot of jazz gigs. I have a couple of my own projects on the go. I do some writing and a lot of playing, and I'm very, very excited to be here at the Jazzaar Festival this year. The way that I approach learning new music, and it's something that I try and pass on to students as well, is I try and slow everything right down. You know, if it's something technically difficult, I'll slow it down to a point where I can technically play it very slowly. Because also you're better to play something very slowly correctly once rather than play it 10 times too fast and practice in mistakes. So I try and slow things right down if it's something technically difficult. If it's a difficult chord sequence, I'll identify the parts of the sequence that for me are difficult, and I'll just concentrate on that one, chord scale or that one set of changes together running into each other. So I think for me, and advice that I try to give students is to take that approach. An amazing and terrible experience in my playing career happened when I was quite young. I would have been about 18 or 19. And when you're that age, you think maybe you're doing really well, you think you're great. Went to a jam session, and the Mingus Big Band from New York were playing at the jam session. So I thought I'd get up and join them uninvited, which I discovered that you don't really do in a jam session in that kind of situation. They were playing all blues, something I was very comfortable with. I got up, and when it got to me soloing, the rhythm section went really free and really kind of swirly and absolutely destroyed me, basically. And I didn't know where to stop because I didn't know where I was in the form. So I played the most uncomfortably long solo, much longer than anyone else had played that night. And eventually it just kind of ground to a halt. I came off stage and I was standing next to one of the one of the horn players, and he kind of went, "That was a long solo, man." And I was like, "Yeah, I didn't know how to stop." And he said, "You just take the horn off your mouth and leave the stage, man." So it was like I really got educated that night. Be invited in that situation. Show a bit more respect when you're younger. This applies to me, by the way. So it was an amazing experience. It was an amazing life experience, actually. When I'm hiring musicians for my band, the qualities that I look for, um, I guess there's a few qualities. The first and foremost, it's a given that everyone can play at this point. But the first thing I look for is nice people, people that I can get on with, people that I can have a laugh with, people that are going to be on your side in whatever situation you're thrown into, whether you're on tour or you're trying to rehearse music that's difficult for everyone. The most important thing for me is that everyone in the band is happy, because I think that makes for better music making. So I think that's the most important thing that I look for. Other than that, obviously, when you get to a professional level, when you're putting a band together anyway, it's a given that everyone can play. So it's not like I'm trying to weed out people that can't play. I'll always pick the people based on their playing and their personality. Personality being first, actually. First I would say is to be humble, to show your elders respect, even if you're a kid who maybe thinks that they're better. And I've definitely come across this, some people who, and they might be great players, they might be a great saxophone player or a guitar player or whatever, and they can maybe come up with a bit of an attitude because they think they're better than you, and they may well be better than you. But I think you've got to show humility anyway, because I think it's important to respect your elders. It's important to respect people that have had experience in the industry, because, even when I go into a band, if it's full of older people or younger people, I go in assuming that I'm the least qualified person in the room, just so that I immediately can start and give everyone the respect. I think that's a good bit of advice. I also think if you're a young musician and you're going into a situation where you're playing with professional musicians, I think it's a really good idea to, if you have the opportunity to be given the music in advance, make sure you turn up and you can play the part. Absolutely. You know, don't come and be kind of tripping over things that you with the right preparation, you know that you could have, you know, had down. So I think that's an important thing because that just wastes everyone's time if, you know, the band has to wait for you to kind of work something out. So yeah, if you have the opportunity to learn the music and be sent the music, make sure you learn it. Yeah, I think that's probably the two best bits of advice I would give young musicians coming up. I came up in a musical household. I was very lucky. My father was a jazz trumpet player. I never got to hear him play, however, because he stopped by the time I was kind of old enough to, you know, be able to listen to it. But what he did do was he instilled an incredible passion in me because the way that he talked about music, he had such joy for it. It was very infectious. He made it sound like a lot of fun. He had some amazing stories from when he was, you know, on the road as a young musician. But also I had an amazing musical listening upbringing. So when I was young, I would be, you know, listening to songs in the key of life. When I was like 5, 6 years old, you know, I was singing along with Stevie Wonder records. I was singing along with Beatles records. I was singing along to John Coltrane solos. You know, so I had this incredible kind of very wide spectrum of music that I was exposed to, which I think not everyone gets that exposure to so many different styles. I mean, you would, you know, put on a Beethoven record, like I say, Miles, you know, Dizzy Gillespie, Maynard Ferguson, John Coltrane, you know, Chick Corea, Oscar Peterson. The list goes on. He had all these records. So I had it opened my ears up to all these different styles that I just grew up thinking, well, this is all just music, rather than pigeonholing things. You know, I love Stevie Wonder as much as I love Miles Davis. I loved the Beatles, you know, as much as I loved Rachmaninoff. So I think having the exposure at a young age to all that music, it was a real privilege for me. And it meant that when I started to play the trumpet, because my dad was a trumpet player, I wanted to try it. And he's, you know, he said, "This is hard. Are you sure you want to do this?" But it's fun, and he made it fun. I think that was the big thing. He made music so fun, and he made listening to music really fun because he would put on a record, and rather than focus on, you know, if it was Miles, rather than just focus on Miles all the time, it's like, right, check out what Tony Williams does just after Miles plays this phrase. Did you hear that? And you know, check out what Herbie Hancock does. You know, in the intro to this, and then, you know, check out how he keeps that thing going when everyone's, you know, everyone else is playing. So it was a real amazing music appreciation kind of thing, that made me listen to music initially from a young age in a very mature way, I think, rather than just focus on the things that are obvious. So that definitely influenced me in wanting to be a jazz musician because he instilled such a love of jazz, and it just made me want to kind of to explore that music more. And then from that, because I had all these other musical experiences listening growing up, when it came to playing in different musical situations, like in a funk band or in a soul band, or in a Latin American band, I had the experience of having heard the music at least. So I had some idea of the style that I was trying to emulate. So yeah, that's I feel very privileged to have had that upbringing.